is an interesting part of it because I'm a big fan of DWE and he's one of my most favorite MCs of all time. So DWE recently released an album called Jackem, right, which I've been listening to a lot lately. I've been playing it when I've been running. Jackem. It's really, really Jackem. Really, really good, right? It's a really good album. But listening to the albums, it kind of, whenever I listen to the DWE recording material, I always get a bit sad, especially because there's some tracks on the album that have lyrics from like, I don't know, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, right? So it's been like, oh, Jesus Christ, man. Like, in any other art form, if you rehash lyrics from 15 years ago, like, you know what I mean? It'll be the end of you. But DWE is probably one of the most technically gifted MCs that we've had, right? In the UK history, UK music history, right? Probably one of the most talented, craftsman of constructing lyrics within a fast cadence that we've ever seen in our modern time. Like, he's incredible. And I think ask most big MCs, ask most underground MCs, ask most DJs, producers to name their top 5 of all time, DWE will be in it. Like, without a shadow, I don't think anyone will not have DWE in their top 5. If you do, you're a troll. So I love DWE. He's amazing, right? But DWE for me has always represented something that I like to call the wasted talent theory, right? Which is something that's not really much of a theory, but if you watch The Bronx Tale, you know that there's a thread running through A Bronx Tale about a wasted talent, right? About this kind of friction between somebody who has potential and ends up doing a mundane job to support their family, and also somebody who has all the extravagances that a mob or criminal lifestyle will bring, but doesn't have the anchor, doesn't have the support system of a family behind him that kind of will be there regardless of the money, the jewels, and the cars and shit, right? So it's kind of conflict, and in between it's called a young kid who kind of idolizes his father, but also sees the errors in his ways and sees that he hasn't actually actualized his talent. And I think I remember someone saying the other day, I think it must have been maybe on Joe Rogan or someone else saying, maybe Christopher Ryan on Tangentially Speaking, saying sometimes like your parents' expectations without you knowing, or no, your parents' failed dreams without you knowing, is like a weight on your shoulder, right? Because it's sort of like you're living your life trying to correct the wrongs of your parents, like how they fucked up. It's like a thing that you do without realizing, right? You try and correct the wrongs of your parents, whether they brought you up wrong, whether they hit your parent, whether they hit your mum, whether they were absent, whether they were overly overbearing. You're trying to correct the wrongs of your parents in order not to repeat the mistakes, but lo and behold, along that journey, you're also carrying this weight on top of you. So the whole story of A Bronx Tale is this kid who's trying to kind of figure out whether or not he should idolize his dad, who kind of is a bit of wasted talent, or he should idolize this drug dealer, right? In this mob boss, this made man who's also got all the things that he wants materialistic in life, but is also lacking something on the inside to keep him whole, right? He's chasing something. And this kind of clip from A Bronx Tale kind of encapsulates it. Hopefully I don't get pulled off YouTube for playing it. Has it got a copyright note on it or anything? I don't think so, but let's see. Hopefully I don't get taken off YouTube for playing it, but I'm going to play it anyway so you guys can hear, and then we'll come back on the other side of it.
You take a ride on the bus with me, okay?
City Island was the last stop on my father's route. It was one of our favorite places. It was like going on a vacation for a day. My dad would listen to his jazz and we would talk about baseball.
Dad, can I have an ice cream?
We do our job first, and then I get you an ice cream. Okay?
Okay, Pop. Let's play the game, Dad.
Okay, let's see how good you are today. Who was the last player to win the Triple Crown?
Mickey Mantle. Batting average, 353. RBIs, 130. Home runs, 52.
That's pretty good, son.
He's the greatest ball player that ever lived, Dad.
Oh, Joe Deep's the greatest ball player.
Yankee Clipper. 56-game winning streak.
That's right.
Nobody beat that, right, Dad?
Nobody beat that, son. And you know why Joe Deep was so great?
Because he was Italian?
Well, that's part of it.
Then why?
Because he had more talent than anybody.
Talent?
That's right.
Do I have talent, Dad?
Of course you have talent. You got all the talent in the world.
Can I be a baseball player?
You can be anything you want to be. Remember, the saddest thing in life is wasted talent. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't do the right thing, then nothing happens. But when you do right, guess what? Good things happen. You hear me?
Now that kind of encapsulates my thoughts succinctly on DWE, right? I always felt as if like being one of the biggest DWE fans, but again, not knowing all the inner politics that might have been occurring in his career, I always thought it was a bit of a waste of talent. Like somebody that good, somebody obviously that talented, who has that unique of a voice. Like, there's no one else that sounds like DWE, right? He's just a unique MC. It was such a shame that he wasn't able to kind of blow and to kind of like get as successful as he should be, or have the notoriety that he's kind of obvious talent commands. But then there's a question that you have to think, right? A question that I kind of have been sort of like rummaging through in my head, right? I think for the most part, whenever people set out to do things, especially in their career, whether it's at work, whether it's creatively, you try and be the best, right? You want to be the best. You want to do the best job that you can do. You can do for the most part, right? But then there also is a point that you reach in life where you realize quite quickly that you might not be as good as you think you are, or you might not get to the position that you hope you would have got to, but you still have a career, right? So it's the whole kind of adage of like, in music, there's that idea that when you're producing a track, you'll always have the feeling that this one could be the one, because you don't know which one could be the one. You don't know which one's going to be your Hold On, I'm Coming Home. You don't know which one's going to be your In My Feelings. You don't know which one's going to be your Damn. You don't know which one's going to be your Stop Trying to Be God. You don't know which one's going to be your Kanye West Gold Digger. You don't know which one's going to be. So you're hoping the intrinsic feeling, the intrinsic thought in the back of your head is every track you make is the one, right? Nowadays it might be a bit different with the whole playlist generation. You're making individual tracks just to hoping they get on the place. So you don't really necessarily put as much pressure on each single to be the one that performs the best, because you just want to have an album full of really good singles, so that it's evenly weighted, or that you don't have to go it all in and hope that this one's the one. But that expectation level of hoping that this one might be the one, right, has maybe led people to kind of have delusions of grandeur when it comes to where they are in the whole like ecosystem of artists that exist, right? Because there is the brutal fact, or the brutal honesty, is that most artists are not going to be Dizzee Rascal, right? Most people are not going to be Tiny Temper. Most people are not going to be Adele, right? Most people aren't going to be these people, right? They're kind of they're kind of the 1%ers, right? Who are able to kind of like command like top positions in the charts. They get all the sponsorships, they get all the kind of not critical acclaim, but like, they get all the kind of like press, media, general public acclaim. They're the ones everyone knows, right? They're the ones that get booked headlining most festivals. But for the most part, most people are able to also sustain a career. Maybe it's not a lot of money. Maybe it's like 30 to 60 grand a year when you break it down, or 100 grand a year. But I think if you went back in time and you told an artist in their bedroom when they were making beats on Fruity Loops on a fucked up computer or on a PlayStation or on a Dreamcast, making a song on there, right? Or if you go to Adele when she was singing in a cupboard somewhere, if you told them that I'd pay you 100 grand a year just to make music and exist every year until the day you die, right? Doesn't matter if you've got a #1 selling song or whatever it may be, or your song's in a movie, you're going to be guaranteed to be visible, right? So you're going to command an audience, you're going to tour, and you're going to earn 100 grand a year, but you're not going to be Ed Sheeran, for instance, right? You're not going to be that level of fame, but you're still going to be quite well known. Everyone will take it, right? But the problem happens that when you get into the music industry, you suddenly then start comparing yourself to everyone around you. You suddenly start to get a bit delusional. Your kind of minders and your team around you start to kind of pump you up, so you kind of feel a little bit higher or bigger than what you should be, or you don't have a good idea of where you are in the kind of like ecosystem of artistry. So that what ends up happening is that you keep chasing this dragon that doesn't exist, and one that you're never going to catch. And I think DWE is kind of maybe a twofold problem, in that he comes from grime, and grime has never really progressed. It never really evolved into a legit music industry, right? Which is why some people, especially some grime fans, have a little bit of a disdain when it comes to like UK rap or like Afro beats, right? Because they were able to figure that bit out. They figured out the business kind of like commercial side of making music. They figured out a way to kind of get their music on charts quicker. They figured out a way to kind of make videos that got played on YouTube millions and millions of times. They figured out a way to get booked during at kind of like mainstream festivals that don't necessarily appeal to like an urban crowd, quote unquote, right? They're getting booked at Reading, Leeds, Capital One Festival, all those kind of quote unquote vanilla festivals, right? They get booked in these kind of places. They figured it out. So some of the hate grime audience would have towards those places was that some of our most gifted lyricists, right, whether they're male or female, some of our most talented producers were kind of wasted on grime, right? Didn't really make any splashes apart from maybe a cult fan base or kind of like notoriety within the underground. But some of our best artists were kind of wasted on that scene, and they never really got to see the light of day, right? And some people don't know why DW is the best artist in the world because they don't really know who he is, right? Because they might have seen him in a couple of songs with Skepta and stuff, but for the most part, he hasn't been able to make the transition into kind of pop culture the same way some other MCs have. And again, it's a real wasted talent thing because obviously talent-wise he's talented, but he just never really was able to make it. When Dizzee Rascal blew up, everyone kind of thought the Dizzee Rascal thing might have been the turning point in grime, right? Because he was the one that made it, right? And he made it on his own terms, released an album, Boy in the Corner, that was 100% Dizzee Rascal, 100% grime, right? Really gritty. And then everyone tried to then make it, but didn't make it, didn't get signed, or the deal didn't work out. And then suddenly Dizzee Rascal's next album is all pop, and everyone's like, oh, okay, I guess that's what you have to do. And everyone tried to follow that kind of template, but by then the kind of police decided to clamp down on people getting shows. And I just don't think there was a DIY ethic in grime that allowed people to kind of hustle and figure out and work it out. I don't know how they did it. UK rap drill, yes, it's kind of reached a point now where videos are getting pulled off the internet by the police and people are not be able to play shows. But I think they figured out a way to kind of get their music on playlists. Back then, of course, playlists didn't exist, but I always thought MCs going on radio and spitting freestyles for an hour and wasting all their good material on a freestyle that no one's paying for without channeling it into an album or a mixtape or a single was always wasted to me. It didn't make any sense, which is why Tinchy Stryder was one of the kind of like forerunners. He kind of led the way, especially during the period when he was just about to get signed, where he was able to kind of do both things. He was able to kind of spit for an hour on the radio station and also make a single, right? He was able to kind of, he kind of understood that, but I don't think grime figured it out. And unfortunately, DW is kind of a good example of it. He's releasing his debut album at 38 years old, right? It's insane considering when he came into grime, right? He must have come into grime before he was 18, right? He was famous in the ends, right? In my area, DW was like as famous as Drake, like, you know what I mean? People would be shouting his name down the street. You kind of felt he felt that he was appreciated. He felt like his talent was, he felt like, you know when you get reaffirmed that you're good at something. People are talking to you in the street, asking you about a lyric that you said, want to get a picture. Like, DW was well known, but he never really made that crossover. Now, maybe he's happy with his career. Maybe as a fan, I should be happy that he's still making music now, right? He doesn't have to work in Foot Locker or anything, right? He's able to kind of sustain a career. He might not be as rich or as well off as he hopes he would have, right? But I think there, again, needs to be a conversation within music to kind of like get down to the brass roots of like, what do you want to be? Or just in anything, in artistry in general, right? Or in life in general. Are you happy to be like well paid, right? But not have the notoriety that you want? And maybe not have even the kind of level of income, potential income revenues that you might wish you had, right? He doesn't have a Nike collaboration, right? People are not clamoring to kind of book DW on his own at festivals, right? He's usually being accompanied by people, Skepta's taking in place and stuff. He's not, do you know what I mean? That's where it kind of, I don't know, man. I don't know where I stand with it, but the album itself is amazing. I'm still kind of mulling over the fact, but I guess I'm just going to enjoy it. And also to make it matters even more amazing, DW's playing, playing in Germany, playing in Berlin when I'm in there. He's going to be in Berlin, I think on Saturday the 29th of September for a thing called Bass Union, which is like a Red Bull Music Awards, Red Bull Music sort of thing that I'm going to go to. So that should be cool. So I'm not that bothered, right, in that regard. The album's good. I've been listening to it for like 3 days straight, and I really enjoy it. There's a review of his on The Guardian. I'm going to link into the show notes to check out. But yeah, DW might be a waste of talent, but at least he's making music for me and for fans that appreciate him. And I'm just going to attend these shows. I think I mentioned it previously before about the liking stuff and leaving comments. I think maybe he's not as famous as I want him to be, right? Because I'm a major fan of DW. I want him to be driving a pink Lamborghini down the street, right? I want him to be, I love DW. He's my favorite MC of all time. But I think there's also appreciation we need to understand as fans or as supporters of these artists that the one thing that we can do is support them when they do release an album. We can buy their songs, we can buy their albums, we can stream their stuff online, we can buy tickets to their shows, we can buy their merch. That's the way we kind of show them their appreciation and make sure that he doesn't have to work. Again, it's not a cuss on the dude that was in the Cosby Show, but we don't want him to work at Trader Joe's. We don't want to see DW at Asda's, you know, pushing trolleys. Like, he gave so much to us during our youth that he does deserve to just put his feet up, man. Like, DW was a soundtrack to my childhood, man, for the most part. Like, from 16 to 18, I listened to nothing but grime. Hip hop could take a back seat, mate. I didn't listen to any hip hop between the ages of, like, not even, maybe more than that, maybe like 14 to 18. I listened to nothing but grime every single day. You know what I mean? Deja vu, rinse. Like, pirate radio stations every single day. And imagine I lived in Canning Town, Castle Mouse, where most of the pirate radio stations were around that kind of area. So I'm a big fan of all that, man. But yeah, DW Jackham is out now on all streaming platforms. Check it out. Great album. I'll link the review on The Guardian where he kind of talks about his struggles in the industry below, so you can kind of check it out. And we're going to move on to the next topic. And also check out Bronx Tale. Bronx Tale is an amazing movie, man. It came out a while back, but I definitely highly recommend you check it out.